Welcome to the first episode of From Me to You. In this episode, we hear from Shrishti and Sienna about what it's like to be Pitt students and Pitt student leaders during this time, what it's like to be a full-time virtual learner, and about their experiences inside and outside the classroom. I just want to start out by asking you both to introduce yourself and just share a little bit about yourself, where you come from, but also just like who you are within the University of Pittsburgh and then outside as well.
I can go first. My name is Sienna Crosby. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a senior here and I'm an applied developmental psychology major on the teacher preparation track. I'm from Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. I'm 21 years old. And on campus, I'm financial secretary of the Black Action Society. I'm a Blue and Gold Society ambassador, and I'm the student coordinator for the Community Assistant Program.
Hello, my name is Shrishi Jain. My pronouns are she and her. I am a junior currently. I am studying neuroscience, doing a dance minor, chemistry minor, and I'm on the pre-med track currently. I was born in Connecticut, but I grew up in India, which is where I currently am. On campus, I'm involved with the Office of New Student Program. I'm a first-year mentor there. I'm also the captain of a Bollywood fusion dance team, which is Pitt Mastana. And I'm also the director of public relations at OCC, which is outside the classroom curriculum.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I just want to admire all that you both do during this time. It's a lot, whether it be virtually on Zoom or in person. And you've done some of those things in person, and the bravery and being outside and just being around people. I wanted to touch on something both of you said was your student leadership on campus and outside of campus and through this virtual environment as well. So I just want you both to kind of share a little bit about what that looks like, how has it been, and how it's been different in previous years for both of you.
In general, the entire virtual setting has been quite challenging for me, just because I'm in India and it's a different time zone. It's 10 and a half hours ahead of Pittsburgh. So as you can see, it's currently like nighttime over here. But with that being said, when I was on campus, it was a challenge, but I would say that either of them were different. Like both of them were challenging enough, be it a virtual environment or be it in person. With respect to, for example, my dance team, which I was a part of before COVID hit, the entire setting was much different because we would meet in person, we would actually practice with the team and bond, get to know each other. But since it's like virtual right now, everything is much different because we're meeting on Zoom, we're practicing on Zoom, we cannot meet our friends. I'm teaching at like 3 a.m. and they're learning in the morning. It's a completely different environment and a completely different zone for me and everyone who is a part of the team right now. But I wouldn't say that I prefer either. Like, I feel that I'm accustomed to this, but I just wish that we could go back in person. I know that's not possible at the moment, but I would love to go back in person and actually meet my friends, get to know everyone, and be involved. I was a first year mentor just because I wanted to actually interact with students, get to know them better, solve their problems while I'm in person, while I'm trying to get to know them. But now that everything's online, it's not that I haven't been able to help them, because Pitt has done a fantastic job in creating an environment that is great for students who are located internationally as well. For example, at the first year mentors, we have an international committee that is solely dedicated for working towards like international students and helping them throughout this journey with people like me who are in the same time zone as them. So we have worked our way around it, but there are a lot of pros and cons for both of them, in person and virtual.
Oh, Shrishti, I commend you for getting up at 3 a.m. To do your dance class. That's amazing. I know I could not do that. For me, my experience on campus virtually, I am here in Pittsburgh now, and it's very interesting. I'm definitely continuing to learn. Zoom fatigue is very real. And I will probably literally sit on my laptop from about 9 a.m. to like 8 or 9 p.m. just on Zoom in meetings, whether it's in class or BAS, Blue and Gold, or a CA program or anything. So definitely, I've always been a person who wanted to be very involved in the school experience in clubs and different things like that. And my first 2 years of college, I was at community college, and it was kind of, there wasn't much opportunity to do that as much as you would at a 4-year school. So when I came here, I was just like, I want to do everything under the sun. And I was fine with that. And I'm still fine with it, but it's definitely very different when I want to do everything under the sun in the middle of a pandemic. Especially during this time. I don't know, for me, it seems like spring semester is a little more harder than fall for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just a lot. And I know we have a lot of things that we're planning for Black Action Society, and I'm getting ready to put together the Pit Engage fundraiser. And it's like just doing all these things virtually, trying to figure out ideas to make sure these things are still successful. Doing different things for Blue and Gold Society to make sure we're still successful in connecting to students and alumni. And just in the CA program, trying to like, in the CA program, we work in the communities, and every student is placed somewhere in the Hill, Homewood, or Oakland. And we have meetings every Sunday. And usually Jordan, he was a CA with me last year. And like when we were in person, we were all able to bond. We were able to create great relationships. That's how Jordan and I relationship grew. And it's like, it's very hard to try to get people to bond just through a screen. So it's very hard. It's really tiring, but like, I'm really here for the experience. It's teaching me to be very flexible and very patient. Especially I'm doing student teaching as well over online. And it's like I'm learning so much, so I can't even complain too much about it. Of course, I would rather be in person, but it's like these skills for like having patience and flexibility are definitely some great life skills that you can continue to take with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I just want, again, to just say it's amazing to be able to hear about your experiences and the way that you are handling these experiences during this time. It can be very difficult, like you're saying, to make those connections and be able to just want to have the drive to be able to do things, especially like Shrishti, you're getting up at 3 a.m. to be able to participate in something that's meaningful to you outside of your academics. And I think that's very important. I think a lot of other students during this time would be able to connect with that, because whether it is a time zone difference, whether it is all these organizations that you're used to operating in person, I think you both are able to share how it was a challenge for you, but also how you were able to kind of put yourself in a space where you're able to then participate. And I think that's very commendable. I wanted to kind of talk to you both about what you already just leaned to a little bit, just virtual learning. Like, what does it look like in this space? And also, a lot of the times we've heard about online classes before, but I think that a lot of people that have taken online classes before the pandemic would probably say it's a little bit different. So I just wanted you to share what it's like to be learning virtual right now.
You go ahead.
Okay. I know for me, I always tried my best to stay away from any type of online class. Like if I had to fit in a class somewhere, I'd be very upset if I had to take it online, because it was just not my thing at all. I like being in the classroom and like really having that communication with the teacher right then and there, having access. And it's like a lot of this asynchronous or synchronous, it's like I would rather synchronous because I know myself and I am a very hard worker, but when it comes to asynchronous and you have so many other things that you're doing, it's like, okay, well, this is asynchronous. I can do this tomorrow, and then tomorrow turns into I can do this on Friday, and Friday turns into next week. And it's like that's my biggest thing is the asynchronous part. And I feel like definitely just everything being online, it's a lot on our professors as well, and a lot of professors are probably more inclined to put on asynchronous work to kind of lessen their load. And then it's like it kind of widens my load, but it's okay. Like you would think asynchronous is less stressful, but I just feel like it's more stressful because then I forget about it. And then it's like the day it's due and I'm getting like a Canvas notification. I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. So for me, it's definitely been a lot. I definitely enjoy not having to walk to class, but I wish there was like a good middle or something. um, but like definitely just having to get out of bed and kind of just hop on the computer, I definitely enjoy that. But staring at a screen for hours, I'm in a program and we used to, most of my classes are like close to 3 hours. So when I'm staring at a screen all day like that, I just get really bad headaches. And sometimes I get to a point like I have to just sit in the dark, or like I don't like having my camera off in class because I feel like it's disrespectful. That's how I feel. But I know like sometimes I'll just have to cut it off because my eyes are killing me. I'll just say to my teacher, I'm like, I'm sorry I have my camera off, but I can't stare at the screen right now. I can only listen. So for this virtual experience, I'm definitely not fond of it. But at least we're like moving forward. It's like we didn't stop. We're still continuing to go. And that's what I really appreciate. And I feel like Pitt has created like the virtual experience to not be as crazy. I know some virtual experiences that I've had, especially through student teaching, have been very annoying. So I'm glad that Pitt, at least with me, I've never really had too much trouble with Zoom or navigating things. So I can appreciate that. And I'm glad like they're working with us as we go through this process and like everyone's pretty understanding.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, my virtual experience, I feel, has been like a little different than anybody else's, just because of the whole time zone issue. For me, I would also say that spring semester is for some reason much harder than the fall semester. Even though I flipped my schedule in fall. I used to wake up and sleep according to everyone in Pittsburgh. So I would stay up all night and then sleep all morning, would never see the sun. Basically, Pittsburgh in India. It's crazy. But yeah, that anyone would think that a semester like that would be much harder than spring. But for some reason, it's not that way. Even though I'm waking up on time, sleeping on time, over here during the spring semester, it's just crazy for some reason. I don't know what. Also, I feel that with a virtual learning environment, I did take online classes my freshman summer semester. That time, the asynchronous classes were through a community college, and they assignments that I had to do. As in, I would submit assignments and read a few papers, and that is pretty much it for my entire class. But right now, it's more so like you need to look at the lecture, understand the lecture. Then you have 10,000 homeworks on top of that. Then you have assignments. Then you need to go to office hours of every other teacher just to build that connection with them, understand. And with 18 credits, it's just too much happening at a single time. And again, the whole looking at your screen, straining your eyes, that's just really bad for your health in general. But I think I have sort of battled it in a way by not keeping my cameras on during my lecture. I understand that it is disrespectful for the teacher, but in a class of 100, 200 people, it's also very hard for the professor to teach on their screen and at the same time look at students. I feel that's just like a little distracting for them. So I just like keep my camera off and take my notes whenever I can. And I make sure that I attend every lecture synchronously as much as I can, just because that's the only way I can stay on top of my work. Because as Sienna said, the workload is just going to keep piling up. You're going to have assignments every other day, and those Canvas notifications are going to kill you. So it's just easier to make a log of all of your assignments whenever they're due and just do it a day before its deadline. I anyways have to do that because I cannot stay up and then submit my assignment at 11:59 according to EST. That's just like too much. So I just make sure that my assignment is done a day before it's due. But I don't think that I hate the virtual learning environment, just because I can attend all of these classes at my home with the convenience of being in India, not having to deal with the snow, the cold weather. It's like nice and warm. I'm literally like in a comfy like clothing right now. So yeah, I would say that I like it. I'm grateful that this platform exists for students like us, those who are internationally located. But at the same time, I do wish that there was more. There was somewhere in between where it would have been easier for everyone in general, the professors and the students, because it has been really hard for both of them.
It was funny that you said like the lectures are like 200. That's so funny because ever since I started school, I never thought of like, I've never been in like a huge class. Like when I tell you the most students I probably had in my class is like 40. And that's probably why I'm more like, oh my gosh, guys, have your camera on, because I feel so bad when the teacher can literally see everybody and then everybody has their camera on. But in 200 people classes, I think I would probably have mine off too, because I'm like, I know the teacher's not looking out for me. Like, so I know for me, like I'm so used to being in a smaller setting. So I'm like, dang, I feel bad for the teacher. She's staring at all these blank things. So that's probably where I got it from, like, oh no, that's not cool, because I didn't really think about that, like all those students. And wow, I could not, like trying to be a teacher, put like 200 kids in a breakout room. My teachers are struggling putting like 30 kids in a breakout room. So I'm like, I don't like, that's something I didn't think about. So that's funny that you had brought that up.
That's what happens when you're a STEM major and everyone wants to take the same class as you want to. It's just crazy for everyone.
It is really an experience to shift from virtual learning. And I actually, for me particularly, I switched from a STEM major to a social science major. So I had the 200-person classes, and now I'm in 30-person classes. So I understand both of those experiences where it's, you know, we are in large classes where it's like, if I show up today, who will know? And then if you get to smaller classes and you're like, okay, if I don't show up today, somebody is going to be paying attention. And those are typically the classes where they take attendance. So they're aware that you're not there. I wanted to take the time now to just shift the conversation a little bit and just kind of acknowledge both of you and your identities at this particular time. I think it's important to discuss a little bit about what it's been like to be a student of a minoritized identity during this time with especially the pandemic and how it's affecting people twice as much with marginalized identities, but also all of the movements for racial and social justice. So I just wanted to give both of you the space to speak about it, particularly at this time. And so anybody can go first, but I just wanted to give you both the space to be able to discuss how you're feeling and how you've been kind of managing that right now.
I can go. For me, it's definitely been an experience being a Black woman on campus. I feel like the main thing I've taken from like everything that's been happening is I've learned so much about myself and seen different things about myself that I never really thought I would before. I always felt like I was kind of like an outsider, not too much of an outsider, but like I grew up in a community where like I grew up in a white area. I went to a good I was in a good school district, so I didn't feel like too many things. And when I got to college, I started, I don't know, I always say culture shock, but it's not that. But it was kind of like a shock learning so many things about the African diaspora, like that I was never taught. And I felt like such an outsider to the Black community at times because I was like, I was shielded from this, like these are things that we weren't told. And it was like, it changed my perspective as one, a Black woman, and also as being a future Black educator, because one, I don't want Black and brown students to feel the way that I felt in school. I don't want them to be shielded or be shocked like that this is all my culture, like so many things were a lie or different things, or so many things were like just downplayed. I don't want none of my students to experience that. So definitely as a teacher, And being a future educator in the education program here at Pitt, I've definitely really been holding my classmates accountable in things they say and experiences that we've went through, as well as holding myself accountable as well, just making sure that I'm still standing up for myself and my community. In the Black Action Society, I'm glad to really be a part and serve on e-board as that, because I'm surrounded by a group of women who are absolutely amazing. And we are just really working to create the best experience for the Black community as possible. And I feel like we've been doing that. And I feel like this is a great time to do that. Just definitely amidst this pandemic. And I feel like we've still been able to have some sort of voice. And you feel like during this time, minorities will probably have less of a say or less of a voice, especially just amidst everything that's going on. And I feel like I've been able to speak more than I've ever have. And I feel like a lot of other people have as well, but also at the same time, there's so much that's not said, or there's so much that's not done. And it's like, we're moving forward, yes, but there's so much more that needs to be done. And it's like, I hope that this momentum continues amongst everyone. Definitely when it comes to this topic and people always want to come to you and like ask you all 24/7 or expect you to be the only one to speak. I actually had like an incident in my classroom last semester, and like some students were really expecting kind of just the Black women to speak. And it was like, we found that very problematic. It's like, you could be, there's so, and especially in the education system, it's so whitewashed. So it's like, there's not much representation of Black teachers in the educational system. So it's like, what are you going to do if there's no Black people in your school, or there's no Black teachers, but there's Black students? Like, you can't just go to the Black student like they're trying to learn. So just different things like that, and kind of just people looking for you to always say something, you to be that spokesperson. It's like, no, I'm still learning as well as you. We're all in school together. And it's like, I don't need to be the only one. I'll love to help you out, but it's like, don't just sit here and come to me for every single thing. So that was something that was really like tiring. But overall, I feel like I really have grown during this experience, especially just amongst everything. And like, I really don't want to, wouldn't take that back for anything. I feel like I've just grown into a better person and a better leader. And I'm really excited for where these things take me in the future.
Well, I absolutely agree with everything that Sienna said. Believe me or not, but between amidst this pandemic, we have truly felt more connected with the society, with other communities that really didn't exist before this. When I came to college, I didn't know anything about the Black community, the white community. I was well versed with the South Asian community, but when I came to campus, it was completely different, because everyone over here didn't know as much as I did. I only grew up amongst Indians, and I wasn't used to, getting to know other people. I felt that they would judge me by my race, by the color of my skin, by my accent. But I feel that Pitt did do a good job in creating a community which is accepting. But at the same time, I did feel a little disconnected, just because there wasn't representation amongst the teachers who I look up to. For instance, last semester, I took a class which is called Music in South Asia with a South Asian female teacher. And she shared an incident where her voice wasn't valued enough amongst the department just because she was a woman, or just because of the color of her skin. And there needs to be some amendment or some change that makes sure that stuff like this doesn't occur, where everyone's voice is of equal opinion. I mean, imagine if all of us were blind and we had to voice our opinion. You had to get to know each other, but nobody could see each other. I feel that would have been like a much, much different world and a much more accepting world, because you wouldn't know who looks a certain way. You wouldn't know, you wouldn't judge them. Basically, you wouldn't have a parameter to judge them on the first look. More than that, I feel that with me, being a part of Pitmasana, which is the South Asian dance team that I'm a part of, it just gave me a set of people who were like-minded, who were focused and motivated towards the things that I was. Last semester, we hosted multiple workshops to collect funds for important matters like the BLM movement, the Indian farmers' protest. And we did a good job in collecting a lot of money and donating it to these organizations. But my question is, at the end of the day, we are taking all of these steps, but is everyone else doing the same? Is there a change in their mentality? We can donate like thousands of dollars, but if that doesn't bring a positive change in the community, is it really worth it? Help the people, but is it really worth it for the community as a whole? Would we all come together, and would it make a positive impact? Is my real question. But I guess like all of the student organizations at Pitt at least are very tight knit. They're very committed to the work they do, and they are united in a sense that they are working towards a positive change. And I think you start small and then you can see the bigger impact. So I feel that every organization is working towards this goal of unity, and everyone is doing the best they can during this pandemic. But I do feel that we're more connected than ever.
Sorry, I was getting emotional. It's walking into this space and understanding and hearing how you all feel connected, I think is very important, even though you're not necessarily within the spaces that you had offered on campus and the size, and even just the city of Pittsburgh, because you'll be able to travel with each other, or internationally, it's more difficult because you're not necessarily on campus if your friends are the dance team. And I think that, it's something to say that, yes, all of these things are difficult during this time, but finding that common ground with people that have like interests, like minds, that are the same identities of you is very important. And it was heartwarming to hear that you're still being able to do that, because each of us wake up day with our individual struggles, and then when our collective struggles are kind of put on the forefront, it makes it a little bit harder. And I think that everyone can appreciate the ways that you're being open and sharing how this has affected you, but also that they're not alone in this, and you are also experiencing it and they're experiencing it. So I just wanted to, at this point, ask you, what is something that you would share to other students that are going through something similar that you're going through during this time, or, facing the same obstacles, and just like a piece of advice that you would share to those students.
Sienna, go first.
Okay. So from me to you, the first thing I would definitely say is self-care, especially during this time, and obviously always, but especially amidst this pandemic, making sure that you're really taking care of yourself, keeping yourself safe, giving yourself the space to be yourself, be in your own space. At the end of the day, you always come first. It's over school, over education. Sometimes if you really need that mental break, you need to take that break. Because when you're not in a good state or you're not feeling yourself, you're not going to perform at your best. So you need to give yourself that time. So I've been good. I've been happy to have like the self-care days, even though sometimes it's really catch up, but it feels like, okay, so for example, like Tuesday, even though I was catching up on schoolwork, when I tell you I was the most happiest person in the world to not have to be in a Zoom meeting, like just that alone was like a freedom itself. And I was like, I feel like my life, I sold my soul to Zoom. That's what I feel like I've done. But that's another thing. And then also don't be silent. Don't let other people shut you up. Don't make yourself feel like your thoughts have to stay inside. If you feel like there's something you need to say, then go ahead and say it. It might be something that's really good, or really something that you just need to learn from what you said. But at the end of the day, don't be silent. That's not going to do anything. No one's going to progress when you're silent, just as if no one's going to progress when you're just standing there. You got to keep going. You got to keep walking. So those are two of my biggest things that I would give for advice.
To add on that, I would say that each and every person is different. Each and every person is unique. Everyone has their own pros, positives and negatives. But my biggest advice would be that don't be afraid to be yourself. Um, Never be afraid to express your feelings, express yourself in front of other people, voice your opinions, stand up for yourself because you are the only person who's going to be there for you. Um, you're the only person who can do good to you. And that's essentially the biggest self care that you could give yourself is to stand up for yourself, be yourself, and do what you think is right. More than that, I know that a lot of students are like, worried about the opportunities that they're losing out during this pandemic in general. But my biggest advice would be that you do have opportunities. It's just that if there are no opportunities available, if you did all of your research, make sure that you create your own opportunities. Nobody else can like serve it on a platter to you. Nobody else can serve anything on a platter to you in general. You need to create them for yourself. You need to create them by reaching out to other people, by doing what is best for you in general. So keep yourself first, do what's best for you, and I guess you'll succeed.
Yes, I love what you said just about like being yourself, like self-love, self-care and self-love. Oh my God, it's just so important. And like when you're in your own thoughts, you can sometimes become your own enemy. So it's like you have to make sure that you are making sure that you're telling yourself you love yourself every day, giving yourself positivity, even amidst everything falling apart. Like just make sure you do that. I know that was something I struggled with last semester. So one positive of this semester, even though I feel it's more difficult, is I've just been so happy, and like I feel like nobody can bring me down, and it's like I'm so glad and happy for that because I just really focused on myself and try to have that self-care and bring that self-love back, because during this time these things can really like knock you off your pedestal. So I like that you said that.
Well, Shrishti and Sienna, I just want to say that I'm going to take some of those tips that you've given out to everyone and take some of them for myself, because I definitely think that it's important to love yourself and to be able to take care for yourself. We get wrapped up in so many things that are happening. But more importantly, I just want to thank you both for doing this, for sharing what it's like to be you on campus and be you in the world right now. And I just think that it's really brave and very courageous for you to share your vulnerability with us. So I really appreciate you both being here today.
Thank you, Jordan. And Jordan, thank you for just being our moderator. You were wonderful. So thank you for that. And thank you for putting this together. I really feel like these spaces need to be shared and just have to take place. So thank you for that.